Well, hello there. I'm Gemini.
Hey everyone, if you've ever run a business that sells, stuff, there are two questions that are always on your mind. How much do I actually have and how much did I sell? Well, in this explainer, which was prepared by Dr. Samir Al-Rishiani with AI support, we're going to break down the two major ways businesses get those answers. We're talking about the perpetual and the periodic inventory systems.
All right, let's just jump right in with a super simple puzzle. Imagine a bookstore. It starts the month with 10 books on the shelf. They buy 90 more. Then, at the end of the month, they look around and there are only 5 books left. So, how many did they sell? You probably did the math in your head already, right? It's 95. You take the 10 they had, add the 90 they bought, that's 100 books available. Take away the 5 that are still there, and you get 95. Believe it or not, that simple little calculation, that is the entire reason inventory systems exist.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We've got 5 main stops on our journey today. First, we'll talk about the only 2 places your inventory can actually end up. Then we'll get into the 2 big systems, the always-on perpetual system and the snapshot periodic system. After that, we'll throw them into the ring for a head-to-head showdown. And finally, we'll figure out how a business actually chooses the right one.
All right, first up, inventory's 2 fates. Look, before we can even get into the fancy tracking systems, we have to get our heads around a really basic idea. Where can all your stuff actually go? It's super fundamental, and honestly, everything else we talk about is built on this one concept.
The thing I love about this is just how simple it is. From an accounting point of view, any item you're trying to sell has only 2 possible destinies. It's either still sitting on your shelf, that's what we call ending inventory, or it's been sold to a customer, which we call the cost of goods sold. That's it. It's a fork in the road, there's no third path.
And this slide here, it just lays out that whole flow perfectly. Think about it like this. You start with your beginning inventory, right? Whatever you had left over from last time. Then you add all the new stuff you bought. That creates this big pool of products called the cost of goods available for sale. Now, by the end of the period, that big pool has been split in 2. The stuff still on your shelves, that's your ending inventory. It's an asset on your balance sheet. And the stuff that's gone, that becomes your cost of goods sold, which is an expense.
Okay, so now that we know the flow, let's check out the first way businesses track it. We're moving on to the perpetual system. And you can think of this one as the real-time tracker. It's always watching, always counting.
The absolute key word here is continuously. A perpetual system it's like having a live scoreboard for all your stuff. For every single item, it knows when you bought it, the second it sells, and exactly how many you have left. It's a non-stop, up-to-the-minute record of your entire inventory.
Want a perfect example? Think about a car dealership. They don't just know they have 50 cars. No way. They know they have that specific blue sedan with that exact VIN, what it costs them, all its features. The moment you drive that car off the lot, their system knows it's gone. This works because every item is high value and gets tracked one by one.
Okay, so here's the magic trick. It's all about what happens the instant a sale is made. When you buy new inventory, sure, your asset account goes up. That's easy. But when you sell something, 2 things happen at the exact same time. First, your inventory asset account goes down because, well, the item is gone. And second, your cost of goods sold expense account goes up because you've just realized the cost of that sale. This 2-part entry is really the heart and soul of the perpetual system.
And man, the benefits of doing it this way are huge. You always know your cost of goods sold, which means you know your profit on every single sale, instantly. Your inventory levels are always current, right? So you can avoid running out of the hot sellers or getting stuck with a bunch of duds. And maybe the biggest one of all, you can spot shrinkage, theft or spoilage, super easily. If the computer says you have 10, but you count 9 on the shelf, you know right away that one's gone missing.
But, and this is a really important but, even with this amazing always-on computer system, you still have to get out there and do a physical count at least once a year. Why? Come on, you got to make sure the computer's reality matches actual reality. This is how you catch those missing items for sure and fix any little glitches in the system. The computer is a powerful tool, but you still got to double-check its homework.
All right, let's switch gears and look at the other way of doing things. Welcome to Section 3, the periodic system. If the perpetual system is like a live video stream of your inventory, think of the periodic system as just taking a single photograph, a snapshot in time. So yeah, the periodic system is basically the total opposite of the perpetual one. It doesn't track individual sales as they happen. In fact, it pretty much does nothing all month or all quarter. It just waits until the end of the accounting period, and only then does it sit down and figure out the cost of goods sold.
So how on earth does it do that? Well, it's just our bookstore problem again, but for real this time. You take what you started with, you add up all the purchases you made, then you grab a clipboard and go count every single item you have left. That gives you your ending inventory. The cost of goods sold, it's simply whatever's missing. It's what you started with, plus what you bought, minus what's still there.
This means the cost of goods sold is what accountants call a residual number. It's not something you track, it's just the leftover bit. It's the number you plug in at the end to make the whole equation work. The system has no idea why the items are gone, it just knows they aren't on the shelf anymore.
And that leads us right to this system's biggest, most glaring weakness. It's all based on one giant assumption, that if an item isn't there at the end, it must have been sold. But what if it was stolen? Or it broke and you had to throw it out? Or maybe an employee took it home? The periodic system, it has absolutely no way of telling the difference. Let's really put this into perspective. With the perpetual system, you're constantly comparing the computer's perfect record to your physical count. The difference? That's your shrinkage, and you can put an exact dollar amount on it. But with the periodic system, there's no computer record to check against. So any lost, stolen, or broken stuff just gets lumped in, completely hidden inside the cost of goods sold. This doesn't just mess up your profit numbers, it can hide some really serious problems in your business. All right, it's time for the main event. Section 4, Perpetual versus Periodic, the showdown. We've seen how they both work. Now let's put them in the ring and see how they stack up, side by side.
So, in one corner, you've got the Perpetual system. Its strengths? Powerful real-time information. It lets you do cool things like automatic reordering. It shines a bright light on shrinkage, and it might even mean you don't have to do those painful physical counts as often. And in the other corner, the periodic system. It's got two big punches. It's way cheaper to set up, and it's a whole lot simpler to run. Less tech, less training, less fuss.
And that brings us to the final round, our last section, making the right choice. With all these pros and cons, how does a business actually pick a winner? Well, it really boils down to strategy, how big the business is, and the technology available.
So, who's using what out there in the real world? Well, the Perpetual system is pretty much the gold standard for any large retailer with barcode scanners. We're talking your local grocery store, Target, Best Buy, you name it. It's also a must-have for any business that needs really tight control over its inventory. The periodic system, on the other hand, is still a totally practical choice for smaller operations. Think about your local hardware store or a little craft shop on the corner, where the cost and hassle of a big system just doesn't make sense.
At the end of the day, it's a classic business trade-off, right? A cost-benefit analysis. You have to ask, is the benefit of having amazing real-time information and better control worth the cost of the system that gives it to you? For more and more businesses, the answer to that question is a resounding yes.
Which leaves us with one final big question to chew on. As technology like barcode scanners and cheap software makes real-time tracking easier and more affordable every single year, is the periodic system headed for extinction? Is its main advantage, its low cost, just melting away? Are we heading toward a future where every single business, from Amazon down to a kid's lemonade stand, knows exactly what it has in real time? It's a future that might be a lot closer than you think.